What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading, back at it again with another crypto market update. Today we've got Sui, Solana, and Aptos. I'm sure you're all wondering what these cryptos are up to. Why are they crashing? Why are they kind of struggling? Are they going to go higher? Are they going to go lower? If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, guys, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of these cryptos. Your analysis could be different. And honestly, guys, if it is, that's awesome. As I love to say, the more difference of opinion we have, the better traders, the better investors we're all going to become. So with that being said, guys, let's get started here with Sui. There isn't really too much to report here. I know that there was a kind of like a viral post from their chief cryptographer, or rather the chief cryptographer of Miston Labs, which is the company that's building Sui, basically. He was showcasing how you can do basically Sui transactions via SMS, stuff like offline transactions and stuff like this. But if you guys, or I guess anyone who's watching, if you're a big fan of Sui, you'll know that this is nothing new. Sui has been working on this technology for a while now. They're even doing like this crazy like underwater transactions, and I think they're even doing like quantum stuff and whatever. Like this chief cryptographer guy, Kostas Crypto, sorry, I think it's Kostas Chalkias or however it's pronounced. He's a really smart guy, and I definitely recommend watching presentations with him if you want to get a sense of like what Sui is doing in terms of the technology side. It's like cutting edge, and like you're just going to be sitting there thinking, it's like, how is it even possible? Right? And but it is possible, and he's like showing demos of like it's already possible now, right? Which of course is really cool. But again, there's nothing really significant that sticks out to me. I don't think that Sui is going to get another second wind until one of two things happens. Either we're going to see more hype around Sui as a result of like Trump's presidency, because Eric Trump, Trump's son, apparently holds Sui. So that's kind of like one potential catalyst that could cause Sui to pump. But I think the bigger one will relate to Sui's GameFi stuff, which I do think we're going to see announcements about that in the coming weeks. With that being said, it's about time we turned over to the charts here, guys. And Sui's looking, basically as expected, similar to how we reviewed it last time. It seems to have come down like to the support level close to $3.4. As you can see, there seems to be, or there was, I guess, a little bit of buying there, as you can see with these long wicks. We're on the daily chart here, by the way, guys. But we can see that Sui basically is approaching the support level here. It's possible it'll tag it, maybe even go a little bit lower. It really depends on what the Federal Reserve does later today. I'm going to give you guys my predictions about what the Fed is going to do at the end of this video. Spoiler alert, I actually think it could be bullish, but let's just say I'm not. It's not like a very, very high conviction call, but I'll explain the details of that once we get to the end of the video. Anyways, guys, as always, super simple with the target math here. We just look at the starting point of this most recent move. We see where prices were struggling to get above, and then we take the difference between those two levels, and that's how we get the target. So starting point is $2.4. Resistance, I would say, is quite clearly somewhere around $4.4. And then the difference between those two levels, of course, is $2, which gives us a target of $6.4. And the fact that I see other traders on Twitter/X seeing the same target tells me that I'm probably close to that target being correct. And again, of course, Sui right now is chopping around the support level. It did break below this resistance, which is unfortunate. A little bit of a whale manipulation distribution pattern probably going on here. But this $6.4 target here is still intact, and I do think that's going to be hit in the next couple of weeks. I know I've been saying that now for a couple of weeks, but I do think that you have to be patient, especially when it comes to crypto. Things tend to take a little bit longer than expected, but once it starts, you don't want to be caught off sides. Let's say, like, this kind of like really frustrating choppy price action. This is designed to really shake you out, and if you fall for that, then don't be surprised if in the next couple days here, especially with a bullish Fed, that it just that Sui goes to the $6.4 target in like the next week. I'm not saying that'll happen, but this is stuff that's common in crypto, which is why you can't get too frustrated about a couple of weeks of delay here and there. That tends to happen, and it's completely normal. Anyways, guys, as you might have noticed, we were using Binance there. We have a 20% trading fee discount there with up to $600 in bonuses. I've said it in every video, and I'm going to keep saying it. These trading fee discounts will help you out a lot, guys. Even if you're not a whale, if you're trading frequently, even with a few hundred or a few $1,000s, those trading fees do add up, and you want to reduce those as much as you can. I'm speaking from experience here. From the previous cycle, I did lose quite a bit of money just from trading back and forth during the bull market. So, and taking advantage of these deals doesn't cost you a thing. So do take advantage of those using the link in the description. You get a trading fee discount, the exchange gets a new user, and we get a cut of your trading fees. That's how the Coin Bureau makes its money. That plus like other stuff like the Coin Bureau Club, but we don't do any paid shilling or anything like that. All we do is we try and give you quality information so you can make informed decisions, let's say, and then we, I guess, provide you with the tools where you can go and exercise those decisions, so to speak. Moving on now to Solana, and what's really interesting, of course, Solana has now kind of become known as like a meme coin chain, let's say, especially with the launch of Trump's meme coin on Solana. But the thing is that if you listen to interviews with Solana's founders, especially with Solana Labs co-founder Raj Gokal, he was kind of hinting that what Solana is going to be focusing on here in the next couple of weeks, or I guess in 2025, is actually going to be DePIN. And this is part of why I picked up Helium during the recent dip a couple days ago. I do think that DePIN is going to be put on the map in a big way. And of course, Helium is on Solana. And the other thing that's kind of emerging as a narrative as well, guys, you might have noticed, especially with the launch of X payments, we're starting to see some rumbling, from like certain crypto influencers and crypto analysts. They're starting to discuss like crypto payments, stablecoin payments. And this is something where Solana is also doing a lot of work, of course, with PayPal, with a PYUSD stablecoin. And this is something I think a lot of people are overlooking. And I do think that we're going to see some pretty big announcements, not just related to DePIN, but related to Solana payments in the next couple of weeks. And those will probably be the catalysts that take Solana higher. And it's going to be really interesting to see, honestly. And as far as the meme coins go, maybe this is a hot take, but I actually do think we're going to see at least one more meme coin wave. I think there needs to be kind of like a pump for like the exit liquidity, let's say, for all the whales. And I do think that's going to come potentially in the next couple of months here. But of course, that's a little bit of a different topic. Anyways, guys, moving on to the Solana price, to the chart. Same idea again. Starting point of this most recent move, somewhere around $180, $240 resistance level quite clearly. Similarly to Sui, we got a little bit of whale manipulation distribution here, and we're back below the resistance. Possibly we'll see a drop down to this $200 support if there's a bearish announcement from the Federal Reserve later today, as I was saying. But my base case, I believe the risks are skewed to the upside here, and I don't think that Sol is going to go too much lower from here. Yes, it's always possible that it could fall back down to the support level, so I do need to mention that, but my kind of bias is to the upside. I do think that it'll retest this resistance and then keep charging to that $300 target and probably hit something closer to $330, which is what a lot of people are eyeing. And again, I do think that's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks, and we just have to be patient and wait. Just don't take on too much leverage. If you're trading, you have to wait for these cryptos to get above this resistance level. And as you can see here, of course, you do need to keep in mind that whales do like to manipulate. And again, this is part of why, when Sol was getting up to this $300 target, it probably would have been wise to take a little bit of profits back then. I'm not sure if that's something that I mentioned, but I do think in the previous video I mentioned it's possible that could have been the top for now. And lo and behold, we're seeing a little bit of a consolidation here, and then we're probably going to see another move higher, which of course brings me to Aptos. This is where things get, I guess, interesting, but also a little bit depressing. So of course, Aptos has not been doing well at all, as you'll see in the price chart. Like I'm actually very surprised personally at how poorly it's performed, but it does seem to be due to a combination of like some pretty, I would say, significant FUD. Like lots of key players have been leaving Aptos recently. Of course, in December, I think it was that Moshe, the co-founder, stepped down, and then just over the last 24 hours, we got an announcement that Aptos' head of ecosystem has stepped down, and it seems that Aptos is undergoing a bit of a leadership shakeup, and it's really fascinating. Actually, it reminds me a lot of what seems to be going on at the Ethereum Foundation, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that the pressures are kind of similar in the case of Aptos, where you probably have big investors that are really pressuring the leadership, saying, hey, this token is not performing nearly as well as you had kind of, or as we had expected, let's say, and you need to make some significant changes to leadership to improve the APT price. Same thing with Ethereum. The whole reason why there is pressure on the Ethereum Foundation is because ETH has been underperforming, and they're like, what's going on here? And of course, eventually people start blaming the leadership, right? So this is how things, I guess, tend to change. In the case of Aptos, I do find it very interesting. There seems to be a lot of I don't want to say on-chain activity that's related to Asia, but I guess kind of like that just based on certain things in Aptos' ecosystem, it does look like there's a lot of Chinese investors that are involved in this. And of course, today is the beginning of Chinese New Year, which actually makes me think, or at least makes me hopeful, that Aptos is going to start to see a recovery here in the next couple of days, in the next couple of weeks. For those of you who don't know, Chinese New Year tends to be a pretty bullish period for the crypto market because a lot of Chinese are on holiday and they're investing, and around the margin, or I guess spending money, and around the margin, some of that money gets invested into crypto and other assets. So I'm bullish on Aptos in that sense, that it seems to be. You can even see here the banner of the Aptos Twitter slash X is literally 2025, the year of the snake, which I don't think we see on any of these on any, like, I'm just checking the other. Yeah, see, you don't see it on Solana, you don't see it on Sui, you don't see it on any major cryptos, but here they're really catering to that community, let's say, which tells me, that this Chinese New Year should be pretty significant for APT's price, which again, I guess brings me to the chart, and this is where things get a little bit embarrassing here, guys, because I'll be honest, I was not expecting that Aptos would fall back below the starting point, and it's honestly pretty sad and surprising to see. Even if we were to move the starting point somewhere down to like 7.7, doesn't really matter, guys. Like, the fact of the matter is that Aptos is looking pretty bearish here. It's basically back to the lows it was over the summer almost. It's back to the entry point. Like, I believe I entered somewhere around this price here, around $7. So it's basically back down to that level, which is a little bit upsetting, of course. But at the same time, guys, and again, I'm sure I'm going to get hate in the comments, people saying it's a Ponzi coin and whatever and all this stuff, which of course is exactly the type of stuff that you hear when a crypto's underperforming. People start looking for explanations, and when they can't find an explanation, then the only answer must be, well, the insiders are dumping and it must be a Ponzi, and so on, right? But before I guess kind of get into my bullish thesis on Aptos, I'll just quickly recap here. Starting point of $8, which again did not hold, which is just, it's crazy. It was holding pretty well throughout this whole period here, but it just completely fell below, which could be seen as a sign of capitulation. I should note, like, you can see that we saw something similar here back in October, that you see deviation below this level kind of gets people capitulating and thinking it's over. Aptos is dead. It's the head of ecosystem left. This crypto project is dead, and this can be, in retrospect, this could probably be like, that deviation to the downside, where a lot of whales have been accumulating on this move down here, and they're getting ready to pump up the price, especially with the change in leadership. Maybe it's just a little bit of hopium from my end. But anyways, guys, the resistance there is $14, of course. The difference between those two levels is $6. And of course, adding the difference to the resistance would give us a target of $20, which, from the current price, you'd be looking basically at a 3x, which is not too shabby at all. And I think I've been saying this the whole time that Aptos has been grinding down, that the let's say the returns there are higher with Aptos than with Solana and Sui. But of course, as you can see, it's a more frustrating hold, let's say, especially if you're someone who's been accumulating over the last couple of weeks, over the last month. Again, I'm fortunate enough to have accumulated over the summer. This is when I went very big into Aptos and Sui, and members of the Coin Bureau Club will know that. But yeah, guys, it's crazy. I do see this personally. I'll be honest. I do see this as kind of like a potential accumulation opportunity if you're someone who's been eyeing Aptos, not for trading, but just for a longer term hold, let's say over the next few months. Not financial advice, but that's a big part of the reason why I accumulated helium, was that I could also see that helium had fallen down to levels not seen since the summer, which was when I was actually hoping to pick up some helium. But of course, the crypto market started accelerating, into September. But yeah, guys, so I was given a second opportunity there, and I do see this. If you're someone who's even mildly bullish on Aptos, this could potentially be a good opportunity to accumulate here. And again, it doesn't mean that it's not going to go lower. It could fall even lower, but just, if it goes any lower than this, like, I don't even know what to say. It's gonna be very interesting, but we have to take things one step at a time and not get too bullish, not get too bearish. Right now, Aptos is not looking good. This is either going to be a little bit of a capitulation event, or the beginning of a much bigger down move. But when you consider, guys, that the crypto market is looking bullish overall, the risks, again, I've been saying it the whole time, the risks are to the upside. So the chance that Aptos bounces from here rather than continues going lower is objectively higher, in my opinion. And I guess relative to relating to yesterday's video, I think I had mentioned that Aptos seems to have a very close relationship with Microsoft. Microsoft is in talks to buy TikTok, and we could see a lot of interesting stuff there, particularly around like emojis and emoji coins and stuff like that Coin Bureau Club members will know all about. But with all that being said, guys, I guess that does bring me to the Coin Bureau Club, which is where we do deep dives into promising small cap altcoins every single week. Also, we do mid caps from time to time. The last couple of weeks, this huge sell-off has given us the opportunity, let's say, to review some mid caps that we wouldn't normally review, for the simple reason that they're so beaten down that they seem to be in a good spot where they're worth reviewing, and where accumulation kind of makes sense, if that makes any sense. And of course, the way that we pick these altcoins is we do polls every single week. The altcoins in those polls come from a combination of our research as well as the suggestions from our members, and then whichever altcoin wins is the one we review. We also have a research feed where I'm sharing insights like this that you're hearing at the end of these videos every single day. We showcase our personal crypto portfolios as well as the cryptos that we're watching. We have an exclusive deals page where you can find discounts on like different crypto analytics platforms and stuff like that. And we have a members Discord where you can kind of discuss with us and ask us questions and stuff like that. And we do our best to answer to all your messages. Although, especially with the bull market in kind of like semi full swing, let's say, we tend to be quite busy these days. With all that being said, if you did make it this far, then it's about time that you got some alpha. So, again, this is relating to today's Federal Reserve meeting. What I believe is going to happen, in short, is that the Federal Reserve will probably keep short-term interest rates where they are, but they will either signal or announce that they're going to be basically reducing the rate at which their balance sheet is rolling off. And this is I guess the short explanation of that is that this should cause long-term interest rates to fall. We can see that long-term interest rates here, according to the 10-year yield, are painting a really nice head and shoulders pattern, which looks like it's about to break to the downside. And I do think that's going to happen today as a result of like some, I guess, dovish comments around the balance sheet, which could cause the 10-year yield to fall quite significantly. And this is going to be bullish for assets, especially risk assets. And one really interesting thing, guys, I guess additional evidence to the idea that the Fed could make this kind of announcement is that when we actually look at the Federal Reserve balance sheet, which consists mostly of like U.S. government debt and I think like some mortgages and stuff like that, which is, but let's not go down that rabbit hole. But for the sake of this video, guys, basically what you see here is the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, like how much money they have on hand. Most of this capital is being held in the form of U.S. government debt. And as you can see here, this balance has been going down. And what the Fed has basically been doing, like they haven't been outright selling the government debt, but what they basically do is they allow the debt to mature and then they just refuse to buy anymore. And the practical effect of this is that it causes long-term interest rates to go up, which is, lo and behold, exactly what we've seen here over the last few months. I would say like over the last basically since 2020, whatever it is, we've been seeing like an uptrend since 2023. You can see there's a gradual uptrend here in long-term yields, and I do think that this is of course a contributing factor to that. Besides the Federal Reserve raising interest rates on the short end, was the Federal Reserve running down its balance sheet. So why do I think that this signals that the Fed is going to stop doing this? Well, in a lot of macro podcasts, like I love to listen to macro podcasts, and a lot of the analysts have been saying that the level of balance sheet that the Fed wants is somewhere around 7 trillion. It has to do something with like bank reserves and like stuff again that's like outside the scope of this video and stuff that I honestly don't understand too well personally. But just I heard in many macro podcasts this number thrown around that somewhere around 7 trillion is where the Fed is probably going to want to stop reducing the size of its balance sheet for whatever reason. And this is something, it's really interesting. It was something that was really actively discussed, I would say maybe like 6 months ago to a year ago. Like when this process was really beginning, that's when people were discussing how low it was going to go. All this chatter has kind of disappeared from I guess from all the macro analysis. Everyone's focused on stuff like tariffs and stuff, right? But assuming that those original projections hold true, which I think that they do, then basically the Fed's balance sheet is at a level where they're going to want to stop draining it, and they're going to want to keep things around this level, especially because they haven't brought it down by that much, but they brought it down to a level, which was like at the start of the pandemic after the initial stimulus. I don't think they're ever going to go back down to this like $4 or $5 trillion level. They're just going to keep printing and printing and printing, as you can see here historically. And you can actually see the last time there was a print in 2008, they did run down the balance sheet, but of course it never got back down to the previous level. It just kind of got back down to the starting point of that print, which is kind of like where we're at here. So I do think that just even based on historical patterns, that the Fed is probably done running down its balance sheet, and it's going to make some announcements basically saying that it's going to stop running down the balance sheet, or at least reduce the pace at which it's going down. And this will be, again, bearish for long-term interest rates and bullish for the markets. So if you did make it this far, I do hope you find that helpful. And if you did, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.